Judaism had in its mythological arsenal a Satan so bold as to stand in complete opposition to God itself and to reign supreme over everything that is bad, malicious, or malevolent on the face of the earth, and to oppose God itself in deciding what kind of affliction to deliver on humankind. There's no doubt that the Holocaust would be the darkest medal to adorn his heartless chest. But for better or worse, Judaism does not have such a Satan. The Satan that we know from our scriptures is a member of the angelic cohort, committed to the duties appointed to it by God. If you look at the story of Job, he teases God and said, let me inflict some pain on Job. Let's see if he's so loyal to you. And God says to the Satan, you can touch his body, but do not lay a finger on his soul. And Satan does so. We just celebrated the Haggadah. We just celebrated Passover, where we sing Chad Gadya, which is kind of a hierarchy of powers, at the end of which stands the angel of death. But if you remember the poem, it ends with God, who kills the angel of death. There is a midrash about Abraham, who is about to sacrifice his child, and Satan tries to prevent him from doing so. So Satan turns into a river in order for Abraham to drown and not reach Mount Moriah. And Abraham looks at God and says, are you going to allow this? And the midrash ends by God rebuking Satan, the river dries out, and Abraham carries forward. In short, my friends, Judaism doesn't have the pretext of an all-powerful Satan in whom it can find the cause of its predicaments. We look to God, whatever that God may be. God is the awesome. God is the awful. It is what it is. This is why I'm proud to be Jewish. I'm proud to be Jewish because I belong to a people who wish to celebrate life and wrestle with evil. Not find an excuse for evil, but to look God in the eyes and wrestle with it. I'm proud to belong to a people who are named after that concept. Israel, wrestling with God. And I'm proud to belong to a people who for thousands of years have been perpetually demonstrating an inverse relationship between number and impact. A small nation without whom certain fundamentals of our civilization cannot even be comprehended. I'm also proud to belong to a people who have turned the concept of memory into an art form. This is why we're here today. We commit ourselves to memory, and we do so throughout the year on myriad of causes. Some awful, some awesome. Because we understand that the property of memory is not only important, but it is actually the foundation upon which our present can mean something, and it is the basis upon which our imagination can take us somewhere. When I talk about God as an awesome and about God as an awful, I often think about the horrific comparison that is required between prophets and Holocaust survivors, both of which demonstrate the same affliction. Prophets for having seen the awesome, and survivors for having seen the awful, both of whom return to us, demonstrating time and time again the true agony of the disparity that exists in their soul between experience and expression. Elie Wiesel, whom you listen to, one of the most articulate individuals I've ever met in my life, called the Holocaust Mysterium Tremendum, the ultimate mystery. Primo Levi, a contemporary of Elie Wiesel's, in one of his works called Survival in Auschwitz, which was an English rendition to the actual name, If This Be a Man, talked about the fact that if the Holocaust would have continued for a few more months, for a year, there might be a need to reinvent language to describe it. There will be a need for linguicide, for the experience transcends expression. But at the end of the day, both prophets and survivors come out of that tunnel, whether it is awesome or awful, in the Jewish world, with a very powerful message: life. The march of the living is not only because you are alive, thank God. The march of the living is because we commit ourselves to the memory of the lives whom we remember, not their death. We commit ourselves to the perpetual legacy of a people who say loud and clear for thousands of years now, I am a Jew, not because I'm here to fight those who hate me. I am a Jew because Judaism matters. My friends, I stand here today and I go to Auschwitz tomorrow. Not because it happened, but despite it happened. I am a Jew despite the Holocaust, not because of the Holocaust. I am a Jew despite of anti-Semites, not because of them. We need to stand very firm and understand the distinction between fighting anti-Semites and anti-Semitism as a plague. It is. It is a plague nurtured mostly by profound ignorance. It is a plague nurtured mostly by people who demonstrate an alarming disparity between unbelievably low levels of knowledge and unbelievably high levels of opinion. It is a plague demonstrated by people for whom a desired perception deserves more attention than an uncomfortable reality. I don't care if I'm an uncomfortable reality to anyone. I do not believe that I or you were put on the face of this earth to cause discomfort to anyone. But I also know that I cannot control it. I can respond to it. My friends, Auschwitz is not a Jewish landscape. The Holocaust is not a Jewish event. Responses of Jews to the Holocaust are a Jewish event. The ways Jews dealt with the Holocaust are Jewish events. The way Jews wrestled with God during the Holocaust, the way Jews wrestled with anti-Semites during the Holocaust, the way Jews tried to uphold values of family, sanctity, life, joy, education, those are the Jewish events during the Holocaust. So when we come to fight anti-Semites, we need to make a very clear distinction, my friends. Remembering the Holocaust, remembering Pittsburgh, remembering Panama, remembering England, remembering all of those events, remembering San Diego, remembering Israel, remembering all of those events is important for us as Jews. but do not let those events define us as Jews. There's a difference between fighting anti-Semitism and turning anti-Semitism into the byword of our Jewish identity. We are not gathered here today because of anti-Semitism. We are not gathered here today because of the Holocaust. We are gathered here today because we're Jews. And that's one of the things that happened to us. Remain committed to the internal discussion of the Jewish people, upholding values and sanctity of life. And by doing so, looking everyone in the face and say, no matter what you do, I'm going to remain loyal to these precepts because they are the language of my people, is a very important thing. We live in a diverse world, my friends, with different opinions. Between people, between races, between genders, between sexes. It's a complex world. It's a fascinating world. I bless every moment where it becomes more and more diverse. It's a good thing. But let us remember that the real threat that this world holds to us is not differences between people, but rather indifference among people. Thank you.